Haven't done this before, by the way. How many years have we been doing this?
21.
A long time. And Jeremiah 18. It's really difficult to think about that lesson from Jeremiah in terms of us being the lump of clay on the wheel. You know, we've been going around on that in our house. Nicholas is feeling like he's really off track. He's so off track that how will he ever, finish school? How will he ever get back? What does this time out mean on his resume? What does it mean for his cohort that he went through, dancing with for the last couple of years? And by the way, how does all of the stuff that he's done connect into a job? Right? As he runs into cousins and friends that are working at Citibank or some other institution, or they're starting as social workers, entry-level social workers, but it's a social worker nonetheless with a title, case manager. And I'm trying to tell him, I'm a case manager. I'm a social work case manager. And he says, oh, Dad, it's not the same. You're a pastor. I said, yeah, I've got a title, and it's true. It's true. So as I'm rolling around on my wheel, and God's forming me into a pastor, it takes me 7 years to get through school because I keep getting drawn away to do pottery and to teach in different colleges, and then to go and do this and to go do that. A different kind of a pot. But can't you relate to, you're on track, aren't you? You're doing what you're meant to do. Or not, and you want to get back. We've got a friend in New York who went through college, went straight to graduate school, master's, and a PhD, all in one fell swoop, nose to the grindstone, and became a linguist, a PhD linguist, got a job being a linguist for 1 year, and said, this is horrible. Yeah, that's what internships are for, but not all internships are indicative of the way things would go. My internship as a pastor was in North Hollywood, and if I would have just kept up with that, I would have never taken a call to another church for lots of different reasons. But there was something else that the potter had in mind to throw me into another place, unconventional. And here I am, all these years later, being a pastor. And anybody looking at my day, my regular days, would say, what do you do for work? What's going on with your hands? What construction do you do? I'm a pastor, as I'm with somebody in the hospital. Really? Yeah, because that's my title. And so then Kari, out in New York, went back to school, got another PhD. Yeah, you know where this is going, right? Sociology this time, and went and studied all over China, learned Mandarin, all over China, studied women's reproductive rights, and then came back to New York and did the same for about 5 years, and then said, this is horrible. This is not where I'm called. And we're all so exhausted just thinking about it. Went back to school, got a master's, and then the terminal degree to be a therapist. And that feels right. She's been a therapist now until she's no longer a therapist now. She's on to something else. Had a great bunch of clients. So when is she going to be Kari? Right? I've never seen anybody like her before that's so willing, after turning into something for a PhD takes a lot of work, energy, money, resources, brain power, up all night, teaching, goes around and around and around. It's a beautifully formed pot. Everybody says you do great as a linguist, you do great as a sociologist, you do great as a therapist. What are you doing? Why are you taking your cancer? What? And is willing to be re-needed. How many of us would be willing to be re-needed? It's like, maybe this is not the town that I should live in. Maybe this is not the job that I have. But to just say, here I am. I'm going to try again. I think that's pretty dang faithful. It's also faithful to stick it out and be a linguist the rest of your life and figure out how you can be Kari along the way. That's perfectly fine too. But there's some kind of a easier path of doing it that way, at least in the eyes of everybody else. So you go and tell the countries that you've got a choice to make. As Diana Butler-Bass says about our text today, you've got a choice to make, just like I've got a choice to make. I'm looking at what you're doing, shape up, or I'm going to reform you. Which, if you ask Kari, is not the worst thing in the world. For us, we think it's the end. I will reform you. Or you're doing pretty good. You got a little bit of a wobble there. You're going to school to be a plumber. I'm not so sure, but I'm going to let you go. I mean, you're shaping up pretty good. I'm going to let that go. But I'm going to change my mind when the whole wall blows out. And as a plumber, you realize this is not for me. And it blows out. And then the pot can be reformed. You're never done until we're done. And every single thing that happens, every crack, every stretch, every break, every wobble can be useful and beautiful until it's just so debilitating and we're not done. So if God can change God's mind about what God is planning, and if we're made in God's image, we can change our minds. We can change our direction. We can rework ourselves, have ourselves reworked with the people around us. We could. We're not apt to do that very often. That's the first lesson. Second lesson is Psalm. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the whole thing to you. This is somebody that's just mourning. They're mourning a lot of losses in their life, and they're just coming for some kind of comfort from God. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hands upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them as yet existed. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They are more than the sand. I come to the end. I am still with you. It's quite a beautiful psalm. It's a really beautiful psalm for one that's used to badger everybody into pro-life positions and divide politically people. You know, I formed you in the womb, and I knew you before your parts were knit together. And so it becomes a badgering ram on our heads. All of us and all people. And we have so many weapons in many directions. And this beautiful psalm is used for that, rather than seeing the beauty for what it is. I'm also I've always been, even as beautiful as this is, I've always been a little kind of creeped out by this one. You know, it's like, can I have no privacy? You knit me in my mother's womb. Get out of there. You know, give us some space. You know, I know all your thoughts. David Greenland, I know all your thoughts. That's horrifying. I don't know about you, but it's horrifying that there's something, someplace, somewhere, within me or outside of me or around me that knows every thought I've ever had, including the ones I've had right now. It's like Santa Claus, right? You better not pout, you better not cry. Santa Claus is just watching you. You know, or as Diana puts it, it changes the whole tenor of the whole thing when you see that God as a parent that's watching a little one, vulnerable, unable to talk, barely able to walk, just finding the world so enjoyable and lovely and scary, but being right there with all the pride of a parent and wanting to be protective. I've been here, I've seen your, we say that to Nicholas and Em all the time. God, we remember when you were, they don't like it anymore. You know, that's a long time ago, Dad. Oh, I sound like a parent now. You have no idea, it was 30 seconds ago. It's a long time ago. But I was there to hear your morning cry, and it's beautiful to be known that way. It changes the tenor of the whole conversation when you put it that way. And we do have choices to see things differently. Right? Okay, here we go. I was hoping we wouldn't get to this one. Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 14th chapter. He's been building up and building up and building up. He's gathering more and more people. More people are following him, and he's being noticed by the authorities. He's being threatened by the king. He's being threatened by the governor. They're going to kill him. They've killed John the Baptist. He's been to the mountaintop. He's coming down. He's going to Jerusalem, and he's predicting that they're going to kill him there. Large crowds all following him. They're all hearing the same message. They're hearing the message that you're loved the same as you, and Pharisees and Sadducees and priests and Samaritans and you Greeks and you centurions, you Roman citizen centurions, you're loved all the same. So come on this circus and let's go to the next town. Let's get on the circus. Everybody is accepted and loved. Everybody is falling short. This is the crowd that is following him. And there are thousands in a place where it's illegal to gather like this. So this is the text. Now large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and he turned and said to them, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king going out to wage war against another king will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions." This is the good news of the Lord.
Praise to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Praise to you, O Christ. You know, I want to hide my seventh hammer right behind me. Whew. I need water, and I didn't get one today. It's about choice. It's about how we live our lives. It's about thinking long and hard about who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, if we're just following the crowd, or if we're really, really wanting to get down to the work of loving each other. And if you do, there's a cost associated. I want you to know that. It's why when we had our party, thank you, Vicki.
Must have water.
I must have water. And it's straight water. Yep. Thank you. A couple weekends ago when we had D&L's reception out here on the site of Fred Phelps protesting us a few years ago because we were baptizing a child of a lesbian couple. And the celebration of a couple hundred people celebrating the love of somebody transgender to their partner, to her partner, and just how things can turn. Things can turn, and how even in the turning, when the three representatives of Fred Phelps down in Kansas, protesting everybody gay and lesbian anywhere. We could bring them coffee in the cold outside, bring them coffee to the point where my wife Karen didn't even come in for half of the service because she was out there debating with them while they drank their warm coffee together in the cold. And then we have that. And in spite of it, senators, representatives were killed a few short weeks ago, and everybody was on lockdown and being frightened, including Lee. And so they had a lot of security here. The governor didn't come. It's just too dangerous in this climate. The cost is great. Article in the New York Times was written up about their wedding at the Capitol Rotunda and then celebration here. And peace was not named as the church out of fear of what would happen. I appreciate that, and because the threat is real. There's a cost. What will it cost if you do this? So you got a choice to make. What will you do? These are the circumstances. This is the reality. What will you do now? And you got to make a choice. So here's Jesus, and this is my take on this text, and it could be completely wrong. I think it might be. I'm going to say it's completely wrong, but I think this is right. And we could spiritualize possessions all we want. He didn't really talk about real possessions and getting rid of it. He wasn't really talking about a real mother and a real father and a real brother and a sister and a wife and children. And sever it, hate them all. That's pretty stark. I think Jesus is so frightened for the people that are following him. The circus, as it were. He's frightened for the whole circus that's following him, believing that they're all equal and they're all loved. They've all fallen short and they all should give each other grace. He's so in love with all of them. The centurion, the rich man, the poor man, that he wants to scare them off. He wants them out of there. He knows that there's going to be a slaughter coming. Get out of here. Do you recognize what you're doing if you keep following me? If you keep following me, this is going to end badly. So unless you're willing to get rid of your family, get rid of everything, and hate everyone that you've been a part of, you can't follow me. In fact, take up your cross, which means I'm not afraid to die. You're going to come and die with me. You got to do that, and then the big guns come out. You got to get rid of every single possession you have. And I can just imagine thousands of people hearing it and just dropping things and walking away. And we come to this misunderstood text over and over again. So did Jesus really mean it? Was that truthful? Could Jesus say something that was a lie just for the purpose? Was Jesus human? Would Jesus say something to protect the ones that he loves? No, you cannot go to Montana. You can't do it. You can't go there now because you'll fall asleep with the drugs you take and you drive off the road. Because you'll forget to take them, then you'll wake up and you won't remember who you are or where you're at, and the police will be asking you to move again. And you'll see them, and you'll do something that you won't remember. And we'll have to come to Aberdeen to get you out of jail if we ever find out where you're at. I can say that, and I have said that. Is all that going to happen? Most likely not. If I was a betting guy, I'd say probably not. Did I say it out of love? Yeah, I did. And there are some people in that crowd with Jesus that didn't turn back. And they did pay the consequences for it. And they continue to follow. And 2,000 years later, they're still following and still paying the consequences. And still making choices. Do I follow today or do I not? Do I pay attention to this or do I say, thanks, Dad. I really appreciate your love and concern, but I gotta go. I gotta go back. And does this father's heart break? Yeah. So when people say, how's it going? It's the hardest thing we've ever done in our life. And I can't explain it, and I can't describe it. We got choices to make. Every single moment of our life, we can make a choice. And we do make choices. Do you do it out of love, or do you out of fear? Do you do it because you don't want to upset this nice pot that you've become? Look at that curve, it's so nice. And boy, I hold water so well and I pour so good. Being a linguistic, I've learned Mandarin. Or do you say, there's just something not quite right in me with where I'm at? And it takes getting married and having a wife that takes you to therapy and says, you need some drugs. She was right. And I'm so glad I spin this way, a little wobbly, but with less anxiety. It's not all gone, people. I still worry. I worry like you guys do. I worry and worry and worry and worry and try to let it go because I have a choice. I can live in that fear or sometimes succumb to it, send a text out of fear that Zoom won't get started. Or we'll watch it on the screen all morning long, trying to get going. It's all right. It's all right. So unless you get rid of all your possessions, put them in the offering plate. We got 2 back there. We got choices, and it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. President Richard Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency. You know that? It ain't over yet. Sure feels like it. But it's not over yet. God's right here and knows our every thought, our every word, was with us when we were knit in our mother's womb. It's not a threat, it's a comfort. God will have the last word. And God might just change God's mind. In fact, it's almost guaranteed. How about us? Amen.